Unless things radically change, it's becoming exceedingly clear, even to Democratic insiders, that President Joe Biden has become a real political liability. And it would seem to me that if he really cared about defeating what is likely to be Donald Trump in 2024, and even wanted to help 2022 Democrats, you'd think he'd announce he won't run for re-election. But of course, he won't do that. And even suggesting as much is viewed by his team as some sort of silly distraction.
And there's no concern within the administration about the president's polling?
That's not what we're talking about here. We're focused. We are genuinely focused on how we can get the work done on behalf of the American people.
Does the president have the stamina, physically and mentally, do you think, to continue on even after 2024?
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. I can't even keep up with it. We just got back from New Mexico. We just got back from California. That is not a question that we should be even asking.
But these are legitimate questions. The president has had consistently terrible approval ratings, even before the historic inflation, and the very real possibility that we're heading into a recession that could come during the next presidential election. And the reality is that you can't ignore President Biden's age. Voters are well aware he'll be 80 by the time of his next presidential run. And he ain't a young 80. New poll numbers from Yahoo News and YouGov show 40% of voters who checked the box for Biden 2 years ago now say he should not run again. Only 37% saying he should. Again, those are all people who voted for Biden in 2020. Overall, a whopping 64% of those polled saying no when asked if Biden should run for re-election. Just 21% saying he should be on the ticket. I'm not sure how much clearer a message voters can send to Democrats. That poll also found a majority of Americans continue to disapprove of Biden's performance as a whole, and in particular on the economy. I don't know what else his party needs to change gears and realize it has to look beyond him and, yes, beyond Vice President Kamala Harris if they want any chance of winning the White House come 2024. That same poll has Trump winning if the two faced off again, 42%. To Biden's 39% if the election were held today. And previous polls have shown when Trump is lined up against Harris, he wins by more, something like 49% to Harris's 38%. Now, to be fair, a majority of those surveyed in the same poll also say they don't want Donald Trump running again either. But Republicans are already developing a bench of serious rivals, from Governor Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Mike Pompeo to Mike Pence. These are all strong potential 2024 candidates. The 2022 election will in part be a national referendum. And one would think if Biden and Harris want to help the party, they might announce, you know what, we're not going to run in 2024. No need to worry about a check on us. Because Democrats don't have a bench also. Imagine how much attention would be shifted away from the administration and on to other possible Democratic candidates, like Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, former New Orleans Mayor and current Biden Infrastructure Advisor Mitch Landrieu, Governors Phil Murphy of New Jersey, Gavin Newsom of California, J.B. Pritzker of Illinois, who, by the way, just got back from a trip to New Hampshire to raise money for the Democratic Party there. Read between the lines on that one. I get that it's early and things can change. They always do. But this seems different. And one would think they'd be talking about 2024 and its impact on 2022. But they aren't, and they won't. Joining me is someone who disagrees with me. Democratic political commentator Reese Colbert, founder of Black Women Views, a media consulting agency. Thanks very much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. All right, what am I missing?
Well, you're missing in that poll that you quoted that President Biden has over 80% approval from his 2020 voters. It's far too early to be discounting the power of incumbency when it comes to 2024. And it would be absurd for President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris to step aside when they won. They beat Donald Trump decisively. They got the most votes in history, and they beat him by a very decisive margin in terms of the Electoral College, flipping Trump's state states and expanding the map beyond traditional Democratic winning states like Georgia and Arizona. So you don't bench your MVPs and go for the rookies when it's time to do a rematch.
Well, unless, of course, the MVPs are no longer MVPs, right? And they're having bad seasons after bad season. And then you start thinking about, well, they used to be MVPs for our party, but maybe it's time to trade them. And it just seems to me that that completely ignores what's happened since Biden and Harris were elected. They have become incredibly unpopular. And I just don't see, maybe you see that path back, right? But I don't see where that comes. And I would think Democrats would be saying, let's focus on some of our bench that very few people nationally know. And instead, it just seems Democrats want to go down with Biden and Harris.
Well, there's absolutely no going down with Biden and Harris. But look, I will concede there are very real challenges that are falling under President Biden's lap. Inflation is high, gas prices are high, everything is high. And people are rightfully and understandably a little bit disillusioned and disgruntled about it. And when you're the president, the buck stops with you. So you do shoulder a lot of the blame. But here's the rub. There has to be a campaign to unseat the incumbent president for the nomination.
Why?
And there is absolutely no compelling reason that anybody has in the Democratic Party right now to say that they can solve the problems that President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris have not been able to solve.
I'll give you the compelling reason. He's going to lose. And she would lose. I would think that would be the most compelling reason you could possibly have, which is, oh my goodness, we might actually lose this election, and we could potentially help our 2022 chances by making this kind of announcement. It's not saying, we're never going to be involved in it. It's just saying, look, we served a term. We want the focus to be on other folks who are in the Democratic Party, but the Democratic Party seems incapable of doing that sort of forward thinking and accepting the reality of where the party is, no?
I think what a lot of people in the Democratic Party are doing is they're engaging in fantasy and delusions that somehow they're going to be able to unseat the incumbent president for the nomination. And so they're running these whisper campaigns. They're undermining him with the different narratives that he can just, with the stroke of a pen, wipe away things like student debts and solve all the problems. If the Democratic Party actually realized and came to terms with the fact that President Biden is going to be the nominee in 2024, then they would be in a much stronger position. But right now, they're not united because too many people have ambitions of being president in 2024. I don't know if they think that President Biden is bluffing or if they're just hoping that there will be a big collapse that will open the door for them. But the biggest threat to the Democratic chances in 2024 are not President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. It's all these folks that are spreading these narratives that these folks are not fit to take the baton again for another term.
It's not about not fit. It's that they're going to lose. I mean, isn't there any truth to that? Do you ignore all the polls about what these people are saying about Biden running again?
Well, the polls are, listen, I understand that some people would say, no, I don't think he should run again, but that's not the same as saying they will not vote for him again. The poll that you quoted, even Trump, he taps out at 42%. That is not something that you go and throw away your star players for 42%.
No, your star players got 39%. Your star players got 39 against him.
In a poll. We're talking about, if you talk about the averages, but at the end of the day, President Trump didn't even crack 47%. He got 46% of the vote. So if he's polling at 42%, I need to see some improvement over where he even landed in 2020. And we haven't seen any polling to suggest that he's improving on his 2020 numbers.
I'm going to have a separate conversation about Trump, I promise you. In fact, we're going to do a full hour on DeSantis versus Trump coming up at the end of this week. But today the focus is on the Democrats, and it would seem to me, again, I've made the point, and we're out of time. Reese Colbert, fun conversation to have. Thank you for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Remember, what do you guys think? Remember.